From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Afternoon Edition.
Well, right now in the Afternoon Edition, honoring the fallen in the Bay Area on this Memorial Day. Good afternoon. I'm Ryan Yamamoto.
And I'm Elizabeth Cook. People gathered together to mark the military lives lost on this day of remembrance. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was in attendance at the San Francisco National Cemetery in the Presidio. Thousands gather here each year at this spot for Memorial Day. More than 30,000 soldiers are laid to rest at this cemetery alone. And in South San Francisco, community members gathered at Orange Memorial Park in the Joseph Furnick's Recreation Building. Event organizers hope everyone that attended was able to learn about the importance of the veteran community. Participants got a chance to see this Veterans Memorial plaque and the Eternal Flame, which was originally debuted in the 1960s at San Francisco City Hall before being relocated.
It's a way of recognizing the sacrifices that our young women and men have made to be able to allow us to continue to speak freely, live freely in a country that has the riches of the world.
Many first responders, city officials, and residents all rallied behind South San Francisco's veterans and servicemen and women for all they sacrificed for our freedom.
And family and friends gathered on the USS Hornet, honoring those who put their lives on the line for our country. Our Justin Andrews is at the memorial event in Alameda.
I'm aboard the USS Hornet. Take a look at this aircraft. This is one similar to one that Alan Cartwright flew while he was in battle. He tells me he lost so many countless friends while they were serving our country. So this day, Memorial Day, means so much to him. These are the sounds of the Young American Patriot Fife and Drum Corps of Pleasanton. These kids using their talents and time to reflect on all of our fallen heroes. Some were friends of Lieutenant Alan Cartwright, a retired Navy attack pilot.
It's important to all people of the United States because the people who died protected the country. It is particular to me because I lost at least 3 friends during the Vietnam conflict. One guy was a POW for 6.5 years, and 2 others were killed in combat. Their airplanes were shot down, and they didn't survive.
And that's what today's ceremony aboard the USS Hornet was all about, taking the day to honor our servicemen and women. Residents and veterans gathered here for this special ceremony, which included the wreath toss into the San Francisco Bay, prayer, and other ceremonies. The USS Hornet draws crowds all year round for its exhibits and collections that bring together knowledge, understanding, history, and service from those who served. This is a special place for Alan Cartwright in more ways than one.
Well, I work here for one thing, and most of the people on here are ex-military, ex-Navy, and it's a home. It feels like home, so I come here. I come here 2 times a week, and I'm very happy to be here today. And I
know so many people were likely off work today, but I want you to spend some time today to honor and reflect those lives lost while they were serving our country.
President Biden laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington National Cemetery. He spoke about making sure we honor the sacrifice of fallen soldiers.
What must we do to uphold the vision for which they lived and which they died? Today, it's on all of us, to ensure that sacrifice was not in vain, to keep working toward a more perfect union.
The President and First Lady will spend the rest of the holiday at their home in Delaware.
Well, looking out at our local airports, a lot of people took off for this Memorial Day weekend. The TSA just releasing numbers about the weekend travel. Friday was the busiest day for the TSA. The agency says it screened more than 2.7 million passengers nationwide. Saturday and Sunday both passed 2.2 million.
All right, a lot of people taking the day off to recognize Memorial Day today, Darren, and looks like the weather is going to cooperate. It's pretty nice to see blue skies here in San Francisco. That's huge.
We got more of that today than we had over a good part of the weekend. It's the prettiest day of the 3-day weekend today. The temperatures haven't warmed up a whole lot. I'll show you what that looks like. First, Here's the view from the top of the Salesforce tower looking out over Oakland. Number out there is only 63. And if we go inland, that's looking over the Tri-Valley with Dublin and Pleasanton in the foreground. It's not much warmer over there at 69. But if we just look at the forecast on today, you should climb to around the low 70s in general for all inland locations, whether it's Tri-Valley, San Jose, North Bay Valleys. That's kind of the way the day goes. From here, San Francisco doesn't even make it much farther above that 62-degree mark. And just to show you how the clouds are doing right now, it is still cloudy in the North Bay. I know those pictures we just looked at from our live cameras look great, plenty of blue sky. But if you look at the North Bay, all of Sonoma County and a good part of Napa is still under May gray. We're going to time that out. I'll show you how long it takes for that to finally go away and what the rest of your Memorial Day will look like as a result. For now, guys, back to you.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Darren. Well, now that there's finally a deal to raise the nation's debt limit, President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy have to push it through Congress. And that could prove tough with lawmakers on both sides blasting the negotiations. Scott McFarland has the very latest from Capitol Hill.
After a weekend of high-stakes negotiations, President Biden and the Republican House Speaker say they're confident they've brokered a 2-year deal to lift the debt ceiling by $4 trillion, extending it until after the 2024 election.
It takes the threat of catastrophic default off the table, protects our hard-earned and historic economic recovery, and the agreement also represents a compromise.
And that it will satisfy enough members of Congress to assure it passes before the June 5th deadline the Treasury has set to avoid default.
It doesn't get everything everybody wanted, but that's in divided government. That's where we end up.
The deal prevents cuts to Social Security and Medicare, as well as the military and veterans programs. It also claws back funding from the IRS, $10 billion in both fiscal years 2024 and 2025. And it takes back the unspent money from COVID relief funds. It also loosens some environmental rules and temporarily adds work requirements for some social safety net programs, including food stamps.
Terrible policy. Absolutely terrible policy.
The chair of the Democratic Progressive Caucus voiced concerns about those new requirements.
I think it is really unfortunate that the president opened the door to this.
While a group of Republicans in the Conservative Freedom Caucus say the deal doesn't cut enough spending or reduce the deficit. Congressman Ralph Norman tweeted the deal was insanity, while his colleague Chip Roy colorfully called it a turd sandwich. Opposition on both sides gives the deal a narrow path to passage. It'll require votes from both sides of the aisle, but House leaders are voicing confidence they'll get it done.
I do expect that there will be Democratic support.
This is a good, strong bill that a majority of Republicans will vote for.
The House Rules Committee meets tomorrow afternoon to discuss the debt ceiling bill.